Ohio State improves to 10-0 on the season after a 48-10 win over UCLA, where all 10 of the points that UCLA scored came against backups. So that's how good the defense was today. But as we do every single week, it's trying to grade the quarterback. Julian Sayin, 23 of 31 for 184 yards and 1 touchdown. That's 5.9 yards per. Like, not his most explosive day. He was still efficient. It's just not his most explosive day of the season. Stefan, what's your grade for QB1?
Yeah, I give him a C. Like, it was a very fine performance. One thing I do want to take into account, because there's two angles to what I'm about to say is.
Are they both 6'4", 210 pounds?
Yes. It does not help when your 2 first-round picks at receiver don't play, right? 1, because they're not out there. 2, because you're playing with receivers who you don't necessarily have a ton of chemistry with. I think we talked about this a bit last week after the Purdue game, where, with Cardinal being sidelined, it was kind of clear, like, he hasn't had a ton of reps with Bryson Rodgers, Mylan Graham, at least not game reps, maybe in practice, but not in this setting against Big Ten opponents, if you want to call UCLA that. So you're in this. I mean,
they are in the Big Ten.
Technically.
They both have something in common. They both beat Penn State.
They have Pac-12 energy.
Technically, everything is technically. It's too late to be talking technicality. So you're without those 2 guys, but at the same time, when we were given Julian Sayin A+ grades in other games, we were saying this guy deserves to be in the Heisman conversation because he's not just a result of his environment. We think that he's a very good quarterback, whether he was here, whether he's at Indiana, whether he's at Texas A&M, whether he's playing for Florida. He can be someone who's a good quarterback and is accurate. And I thought we saw some of that. There were some drops. I think Mylan Graham had 1 or 2. There were some drops over the course of the game, but, he missed Max Clare in the seam. At Purdue, it was an incompletion. This time, he just didn't even see him. The whole stadium was like, dude, he's wide open, and he didn't throw it. So I thought it was an okay performance, one that was a result of not having your best weapons, but also if we give him a good grade and we say he would be good without even his best weapons, when he struggles without them, I think it's fair to criticize him a little bit as well. So I think he did what needed to be done. I think the story of this game was Ohio State's rushing attack doing kind of what we thought Ohio State's rushing attack was going to do. So, you can't bash him a ton for that. It's like, what are you going to do when James Peoples is hurdling someone and Bo Jackson's running for 30 yards? It's like, I don't know, that's kind of where the offense is clicking. Just keep riding it. So I thought it was a very okay performance, kind of what Ohio State asked him to do, kind of result of his environment. A lot of things went into it, and therefore I give him a C.
A C for QB1. Gillis, what's your grade?
I'm at a B-. I think Stefan had some good points about the whole idea of Julian Sayin is Carnell Tate proof and Jeremiah Smith proof, where he's good without them. And I think that that's a fair point, right? I think that we all think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the sport, but I also don't think it's necessarily fair to say Carnell Tate, not in the lineup, Jeremiah Smith, not 100%, good luck, and expect him to have that chemistry right away.
Everybody else has to do that.
I agree. But in terms of, maybe having a couple of weeks to work with those guys or an offseason, I think that matters. So I don't think he was great. I think he was fine. I think if he had JJ and Carnell, I would probably be at like a C- tonight. Like I think if what happened tonight was with Carnell and JJ, probably a little bit lower. I give him a little bit of a grade on a curve here, maybe a B- because you were without those guys. You did have a host of new receivers. Like, that was the jump ball, I think it was to Mylan Graham that Stefan was talking about, where Carnell probably makes that catch. So, the stats probably look a little better. There's something, I think there was one in the corner of the end zone where Steven remarked in the press box, he thought 4-17 was catching that one. And it was just one of those things where I think it was a little bit of a timing issue. So I don't think he was great. I think he was like slightly above average. There were some nice throws in there. He did miss Claire on the seam. Mix of good and bad. But I'm maybe a little bit more forgiving of not having the 2 best receivers in the sport. So I get it. I know maybe there's Indiana fans watching this or something like that are saying, oh yeah, it must be terrible. Fernando Mendoza does that every week. I know there's, quarterbacks of Alabama or fans of Alabama or whatever that are watching this going, hey, we don't have that. We don't have this. I get that, but B- for me. I'm not going to be too hard on him, but I do think this was it was certainly a learning performance, because we'll talk about this in our other video. If Carnell and JJ can't go next week against Rutgers, he's going to have to figure some stuff out, and he's going to have to, I think, be better than he was today, especially with a full week of practice with those guys.
Yeah, but they also won 48-10.
Did you give him a C last week at Purdue?
No, I gave him an A- last week at Purdue.
Fair enough.
Like if they don't have Carnell and JJ next week, oh no, they're gonna beat them 48-10. Like they just beat this team 48. They're gonna beat. Okay. Okay. Like this team is okay. This Purdue and UCLA scored the same amount of points in Ohio State. Like it's who cares? It's not, that's dismissive. I guess here's the conversation both of you are like semi having, but you're not doing it on purpose. Is like who needs who more?
Yeah.
Who does Julian need Carnell and JJ to look good, or do Carnell and JJ need Julian to look good? Carnell and JJ are the established ones, so it's the easy thing for everybody to just go, oh, it's Julian needs them more, because it's true. But I think they need him just as much as he needs them, because if you took Julian Sayin out of the lineup, it's not like Carnell Tate was on a pace to have 1,000 yards last year when Julian Sayin wasn't a starting quarterback, right? And Jeremiah's Jeremiah. That's a different conversation. But the thing about those numbers isn't that they're like inefficient, right? In fact, they're just as efficient as most weeks. It's just this is a core kid who is completing 80% of his passes. So it is kind of like when he goes to 74%, we're like, oh no, what's wrong with the world? Nothing. He's still better than everybody else at completing passes. I think what was missed today was the explosion of the offense, which is why we're all bringing up plays that were downfield passing attacks, right? Mylan Graham dropped one over the middle of the field. He just didn't get there for the one where like, oh, Carnell Tate would have caught that and it would have been a touchdown. Jeremiah Smith would have caught that and it would have been a touchdown, right? There were a lot of plays from the outside receivers where you go, if that was JJ or Carnell Tate, it's a touchdown. That's not on Julian Sayin. It's not Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith not being out there on the field. I'm going to give him a B- because he didn't necessarily elevate anything, but he also didn't have to elevate anything. The B- for me is because he missed Max Clare.
Yeah.
And that's 2 weeks in a row where he's missed the tight end, whether he's thrown it or not, and it's left 6 points off of the table. And you can't give him an A, because you are right. If we're going to give him an A when he's actually at an A level, he now has a standard. And if he's not at that standard and we're just giving him A's every weekend, we're just going to sound like a bunch of homers. And we can't do that here. We can't be homers here. But I do think that, like, if it was flipped and Julian didn't play and Jeremiah and Carnell Tate did play, I think we would be saying the same thing of, oh, Carnell and JJ were great, but it was missing the explosion from the offense. And that's what makes those three so dangerous. Yeah, it's the intermediate stuff. Yeah, it's the short stuff. That stuff is like, Julian's like money with that stuff. But it's oh, you're playing quarters coverage? Well, JJ got by you and Julian Sayin threw it on a rope. Yeah. Oh, you're playing cover two? Well, Carnell split it, and Julian Sayin put it in a place where only Carnell Tate can catch it. It's the combination of only Carnell Tate, only JJ can make that catch, but also only Julian Sayin can put them in the position to make that catch. And when you don't have all three of those elements, that's when you get a clunky day. And it wasn't even clunky; it just wasn't explosive. And if they don't play next week, they don't play next week. I almost think they shouldn't play next week. I think it's a value in Brandon Ennis getting more opportunity, Bryson Rogers and Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter getting more opportunity. Because like Carnell Tate's not going to be here next year, and it can't just.
Might be why. That could be why he plays. This is the last home game.
Possibly. If he plays, that's why. But if he doesn't play next week, I mean, listen, the guys we're naming outside of those two, it can't turn into 2023 again next year where it's like, oh, it's your wide receiver one or it's nothing. And part of the reason it was like that is because Emeka Egbuka got hurt. But that entire 2023 offense, once Emeka got hurt, was what? Marvin Harrison Jr. Next year can't turn into the Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith show, or they're not going to win a national championship. That's just flat out. So getting these guys reps and opportunities, so Mylan Graham dropped a couple today, okay, that means he won't drop a couple tomorrow. Right? I think that's important. And that was a way bigger deal to me than Julian Sayin didn't throw 40-yard bombs against UCLA, quite frankly. So, yeah, I'll give him a C as well. Oh, what did I say? B-?
Yeah, hold up.
Give him a B-. I've been talking for a minute. It's cold, okay? I'll give him a B- because he missed some guys on some touchdowns there. But I'm not going to fault him for not having their full arsenal of weapons. Like Fernando Mendoza hasn't had Elijah Surratt in a couple of weeks, and he hasn't looked good. Right? I mean, Ty Simpson, like Ryan Williams was out for a little bit there, and they didn't look great during that time, right? It wasn't until Ryan Williams got back that he started looking like a Heisman Trophy candidate. So, like, that matters. Yeah, they need each other. Those three are a wild horse that's going to win a national championship. So when you take two of those three out of the equation, obviously the offensive production is going to come down a little bit. I'm Steven, that's Stefan, and that's Andrew. Get the text, 614-350-3315. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that, and go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. See ya.